Today we're going to have a look at spinning, and I'm going to start you off right from the beginning so that anybody who is just starting out will know exactly how to start off. First thing I've got is my bobbin, and I've got a long piece of doubled yarn, just a circle of it. First thing I'm going to do is wrap the yarn around the bobbin and pull the other end through, so we've got a slip knot. Bearing in mind that this is going to be at the back of the wheel with a tension device over it, and this end is going to come through and onto the through the flyer. I'm going to put the bobbin onto the wheel, clip it on. Now at the moment I'm just going to leave that to hang, because the first thing I want to do is give you an exercise to work on. This will help you as you get more proficient at spinning and you want to go on to making fancy yarns where you need both of your hands to manipulate the fibres. So we're going to start off with some treadling exercises. Now your treadling is the thing that keeps everything smooth and even. It becomes quite mesmeric in a way. It's a little bit like meditation. You actually get to the point where you don't realise that your foot's still working. A lot of people have trouble keeping the wheel going and stopping it and then getting it going again. You shouldn't need to use your hands at all. You should be able to do it just using your foot. Now one of the tricks that I've learnt over the years is that a lot of people have problems with it going backwards and forwards, so when you start off it might go backwards one way and then go backwards the other way and then go back again, so that you don't get a continuous treadle in one direction. The way to get over this is to take your shoe off and use your foot just to sock on, or even in your bare feet. And by keeping your toe flat on the treadle plate and flexing your ankle and letting the treadle plate come back up to your foot when it's ready to come back up, rather than you anticipating it, you'll find that you can keep treadling in the same direction all the time. Now ideally you should be able to stop the wheel at will and then make it go in the opposite direction, stop it again, and make it go in the opposite direction again, so that at any one point you can make the wheel go in whichever direction you want it to go in, just by stopping it and then retreadling again. Now if you look at the mechanics of the wheel, the footman, that's the rod that goes at the back of the wheel and attaches through the hub, that is offset, so that if you want your wheel to go in a clockwise direction, have the footman to the right of the hub and then push down with your toe, and that will make it go in a clockwise direction. If you stop the wheel, bring the footman up to the left of the hub and push down with your toe, and it'll go the opposite direction. So that's your visual guide on how to make the wheel go in the right direction. If necessary, and some of the wheels, some Ashfords in particular, they can lock, and they can lock at the top point. So if the footman stops right dead centre, sometimes you can't get the thing to flip over and go in the opposite direction. You can weight your wheel, and at one point I had just on the offset, because most of your spinning is done in a clockwise direction, put your footman to the right hand side of the hub, get a bit of blue tack, stick it on the bottom of the wheel, right down at the base, at the lowest point of the wheel, and then put some lead weights onto it, so that you can stick the lead weights onto the blue tack, and that will weight the wheel so that every time you stop it, it'll swing down to that point, so that your footman is always at the right side to start your wheel off. Just a little trick that you can use. Some people are quite happy to actually drill a hole into the rim of the wheel and pour molten lead into it to weight it that way. But to be perfectly honest, I didn't find that was necessary with those wheels. And the other thing is, it causes quite a stir when the little lead weights keep flying off in all directions, and especially when you're spinning in a group of people and suddenly this lead weight comes shooting past them. It's quite funny sometimes. So once you've got the wheel to the point where you can start it and stop it at will, we can then look at threading the leader up so that we're ready to start spinning. So I'm going to take my hook, put the thread over the top of the hooks on one arm of the flyer, put the hook through the orifice and out through the other side, loop the wool over the hook and pull it through. Now I find a hook that is actually long enough to go all the way through and out through the back of the orifice with a little bend in it is by far and away better than a looped type of threading tool. If you've got continuous loop, it means that you've got to mess around trying to thread your leader through the loop and then pull it through, whereas if you've got a hook it's a lot quicker to just hook it round and pull it. I've now put the bobbin brake onto the bobbin, and I'm going to test this bobbin brake to see just how much tension there is on it and how fast it's going to pull the wool out of my hands. The ideal way to set your tension is to get your wheel going, allow the yarn to feed on, and then pull it back off again while the wheel's still going. If you can't pull it back off easily, it could mean that you've got too much tension on. You hear that horrible noise? That means I've got too much tension on the wheel, on the bobbin. So I've loosened it off. Now I can feed it back on smoothly and pull it back off again. Now if you find that you haven't got enough tension on, I'll take that right off. When I try and feed the yarn back onto the bobbin, it loops up and it doubles back on itself and it won't feed on properly. So that tells me I haven't got enough tension on the bobbin. The other problem that can arise is if you haven't tied your thread around the bobbin to start you off tight enough or in the right direction, you could find that it's actually spinning around the centre of the bobbin and that won't feed on at all. The other thing that can happen is that your yarn can get caught on the hooks. You can get just little fibres, or you can get a double back of yarn on a hook, and that'll stop it feeding in as well. So if for some reason you're spinning away quite nicely and suddenly it stops feeding on, it's usually because you've got the yarn caught on a hook. So just stop and check that. So we're going to get the wheel going, and we're going to have it going in a clockwise direction. This is going to produce a Z-twisted yarn. And the Z-twisted yarn is the most common yarn produced for a singles thread, so that when you when you come to ply it, you'd ply it in an S-twist.